Good evening and welcome to the AFTV podcast. Giles is not here this evening because he's been caught up with security in Lagos International Airport. They've arrested him on suspicion of stealing Kanu's Premiership medal. With me here tonight is regular James.
Hiya mate, you alright?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good man, yeah, I'm fantastic after that today.
Good stuff. And our old friend from across the pond is Judd. How you doing, mate?
Evening, Jasper. I'm doing fantastic after that result.
I bet you are, I mean, Stoke was good enough, but this one really takes the biscuit.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic game. Let's have a look. Well, let's take it from the very beginning then. Let's start with you, Judd. I mean, when we saw this game coming up, we thought, well, if we go into it on the back of a defeat, we're going to be lacking belief, but we didn't. What did you feel like? Were you nervous coming up with this coming up, or did you think we had a chance? How did you feel about it?
Well, I mean, obviously, going off our history over the recent season, I think the last 3 seasons, we've lost 16 games, or not won in 16 consecutive games against the former 3 champions. So going into the match, I was thinking, well, fearing more of the same. I figured that coming off a win would help, and maybe a draw at best. I certainly wasn't expecting to come out of there with a 2-0 win. If anything, I was thinking maybe like a 2-2 draw, at least a high-scoring draw. Maybe if we could nick a goal late to get, the victory, but I certainly didn't see the comprehensive win coming.
Sure. Well, I'll take that one over to you. James, because I thought we did have a chance, not just because Yaya Toure was out, but just they haven't quite been on sparkling form, City, and maybe I was being naive, as it turns out I wasn't, but I did think, we got a chance because they're not quite up to scratch at the moment.
No.
Aguero's coming back from injury, just the odd sort of reasons why they weren't absolutely destroying teams. I thought, you never know. What did you think?
Yeah, it's weird, like, all week I've been really confident, and I never normally am. I'm normally worried, but I think it was it Everton that they played and they got the draw with, and they were absolutely really poor?
Yes.
And I sort of thought, Everton are on such a bad run. If Everton can give them a game, surely us, with like the quality that we've got, and the last few performances, I mean, Hull, I thought we were fantastic. Stoke was probably, next to today, the best I've seen us play all season. So I was really quite confident in this game. I thought we'll get a draw at least, but to get the whole 3 points and the whole way we played was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I kind of saw a draw on the cards, and I would have been fairly happy with that, just because we had that 2-2 before.
They're unbeaten in 12 or 13, aren't they? And we've ended that now. Yeah, 12. Yeah. They're unbeaten in 12 going ahead into it. So, to get 3 points, like I said.
Always good when that happens, when you end someone's unbeaten run.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, think of the lineup, Judd, because when I saw the lineup, I immediately was slightly pissed off that Ramsey had come straight back in. Nothing against Ramsey, but of course Rosicky was playing so well, and I am a bit of a fan of his, so I may be slightly biased. But I just thought, Rosicky's on fire, and you're bringing back a player who, when he's on fire, Ramsey was unbelievable, best player in the league last season when he was fit, blah, blah, blah. Not only has he not played like that so far this season, but it's his first game back, so he's not going to be that player. He's not going to be able to recreate that form. And I think the manager said that he thought it would be a more defensive option, but I just thought, no, you don't want to be doing that, because Ramsey's going to give the ball away, he's going to make silly mistakes, and try silly back heels that didn't come off. On the day, it turns out that's exactly what he did, but it didn't matter. We got away with it, and we got a fantastic 3 points. But that was the only thing about this lineup that I thought that irritated me. And on the other side of things, I was pleased to see Ospina keep his place. But what did you make of it anyway?
Yeah, I'd agree for the most part. I think that the reason that Wenger wound up going with Ramsey over Rosicky is when Ramsey is on form, the amount that he can bring to the side is far higher. But then, like you said, he's got those games where he just, nothing comes off for him. He's trying to do too much. And
but is it realistic to expect him to hit that form that is obviously higher than Rosicky when it's his first game back? I just thought that was a really sort of risky and maybe naive decision to put him in there and say, oh, when he's on form, he's the better player. But he's not going to be, is he? He hasn't played for ages.
Right, but at the same
I thought
time,
that was very optimistic.
At the same time, you need to get him back onto form at some point, so you got to start putting him back into that lineup. I can see your case saying that playing against a team like Man City on the road might not be the most opportune time to make a change like that. But when he is at his best, he does bring more to the side than Rosicky. Rosicky has that veteran consistency that you're not going to get out of Ramsey, though, for sure. And I can definitely see why you would make it. There's a very strong case to keep Rosicky in, especially the way he's been playing recently. And I'd certainly agree with you on Ospina. I think that he's shown enough in the time that he has played that he's a lot more secure option to have in goal. He's a little bit more disciplined on when to come off the line than Chesney is. And when he does come off his line, he is most absolutely certainly getting to that ball. I think he showed very well today on a couple corners and some crosses that, he's secure in his handling inside the box on high balls in. Some people were concerned that his lack of height against Chesney, I think he's only 6 foot tall as opposed to the 6'3" that Chesney is. But I think that he answered his critics very well today.
I keep forgetting that that you are actually a goalkeeper as well, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah, I've played, at amateur level for the last 20, 25 years. So.
So you've got a better insight than most fans into what Ospina's actually doing right and doing wrong.
Yeah,
or
and
slightly better.
I think one big thing that a lot of people don't realize that keepers do is how much they command the defense when they're not on the ball. Keeping people in position, making sure that they're covering on, the back post runs, basically being the orchestrator of the entire defense. And, that's something that you can't really see for certain during a match. But the way that the defense has played the last 2 matches, or last 3 matches when he's been in there, I think it's shown that he's doing something defensively that's making the whole unit just click better than when Chesney's been in goal. I think he's got 2 or 3 clean sheets in the league now, where Chesney wasn't able to manage one for the entire first half of the season. It's a smaller sample size, but yeah, exactly.
It's a very telling stat. Yeah. Well, my method of analysing goalkeepers is nowhere near as scientific as yours. I tend to, measure them in terms of how many times I hide behind the sofa over the 90 minutes. So
that's a good rule about
yeah, but
can I just
there's something
echo what you said about Ospina? What I like about him is, like you said with Chesney, when he runs out for a corner and he wants to punch the ball away, he'll worry about hitting the defenders' heads or knocking them out. Ospina today, I think it was Mertesacker, he clipped the back of Mertesacker's head and he sort of turned around and Ospina was like, well mate, that's the game. I'm getting the ball. He's
another time he went right over
process. Yeah.
He went right over top of Koscielny on one of them.
Yeah, but
and held on to the ball.
That ball, yeah, which I really like. I mean, Chesney for me, the guy believes his own hype. I know, I'm a young man myself. We've all been there. We all think we're the dog's bollocks at something, don't we? And you're not going to be told otherwise. And the other week when he had his hood up and he was sulking, I think today he seemed a bit more composed on the bench or whatnot, but he's got to fight to get that place back. I mean, you look at City the other year when Joe Hart was really bad. They dropped him for, is it Cavallero, the guy who's at Sunderland now? They dropped him for a few games, and Joe Hart doesn't make those mistakes that he used to make anymore. So I think what they're doing with Chesney's the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling about Ospina is that when he's got the ball, I just feel safe. When the ball's crossed into the area, I just feel safe. I don't think, is he going to come running out like a nutter, which you've always got that doubt in the back of your mind with Chesney. He sometimes comes running out of his area, to kick the ball away, at a point where obviously he can't handle the ball because he's outside of it. Just crazy things like that he does. And there was the thing the other day against, who was it, Swansea? I can't remember where the guy just chipped it over his head and into the net. Southampton, wasn't it? And, Ospina, I can't see him doing that, And I think that even though he's only played a few games, I think Chesney's in trouble here, isn't he? Because if he keeps putting clean sheets together like that, Chesney could have a real problem getting back in the side, which is for the squad, benefit of the squad is exactly what we want, isn't it? We want people to be really having to up their game massively to even get a look in. And I think occasionally every so often, Szczesny needs a bit of a kick up the arse. He needs a bit of a reality check. I remember he had one before where he switched off all his Twitter, didn't he? Switched off social media and just said, right, I'm going to sod this and focus on my game. And his game did improve. And this is another one. This is like a second kick up the arse. But Ospina his distribution's better. His punching away is better. I think Szczesny's in trouble. What do you reckon, Judd?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, going back to James's point about Szczesny being a little bit crazy and believing his own hype a little bit too much, that's something that's weird with goalkeepers is you have to have that little bit of, arrogance and confidence. It's a fine line that you gotta toe. But I think you're right though. There's going to be a big challenge for Szczesny to win his spot back for sure. And as you were saying, that's a great problem to have for the squad as a whole. It's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about the lineup, and I haven't even asked James what he thought. What did you make of the lineup?
Yeah, I'll echo what you guys say. Rosicky, I thought, would probably have started for me personally, and I was quite shocked that he went for Bellerin over Chambers, but I'm so glad he did at the end. I mean, Bellerin today was magnificent. I mean, going forward and defending-wise, he was fantastic. But with Ramsey as well today, obviously you saw he hit a few fluffers, didn't he? When, if that was him last season, that's 2 goals. He would have took them 2 chances. I remember the one in the second half, was it, where he, I think he flicked it over somebody's head and then it sort of dropped down and he ran on and he hit a shot that nearly hit me in the head where I was sitting at home. But if that's last season, he'll score them every day. But obviously he's coming back from injuries and he got told he needs to take things back to basics. But what I did like today as well is with Ramsey is he was really quite good defensively. If you look in the first half, I think it's Agüero is sort of dancing around, I think it's either Bellerin or Monreal, and he completely nutmegs either Bellerin or Monreal. I can't remember which one it was. And Ramsey comes in and times his tackle. If he gets that wrong, they've got a penalty, and God knows what happens. He put in such a great tackle to stop that chance.
I think that may be why he started ahead of Rosicky, because it's probably a tactical decision by the boss who thought, Rosicky, for all his qualities and his form, he is more attack-minded.
Oh, yeah,
he's great at the old sliding tackle, isn't he? But it's more of a sort of running back and last-ditch thing rather than I'm going to hold my position, I'm going to stay back and protect back ball. He's not as much of that kind of player as Ramsey can be. So I think it was probably a tactical thing. But
I don't think it's a case of next either, is it? I mean, Rosicky is I think he's 34 now, and he can still go. He's still got some pace, but obviously Ramsey, and if it's in a chase, I think he went for the youth legs over the experience.
Went for the sexy young legs, yeah. Yeah, but the only other thing, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the only other thing I briefly wanted to touch upon with the lineup is that Flamini. Some people might have said, let's not piss around with a 23-year-old. Let's get Flamini back in as a DM. But again, with Bellerin, the boss decided these guys have earned their place in the team for now. It wouldn't be fair on them to drop them. I'm sticking with Coquelin because even though he's only played against teams like Hull and Stoke, he did play well, and why shouldn't he recreate that form? And it was definitely the right decision, wasn't it, Judd?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was very impressed with not only the fact that he seemed to be orchestrating that midfield very well. It looked like he was trying to communicate with his teammates there to get them to position themselves better, to get back on defense a little bit more. And I remember one time, it was early on in the game, around the 15th minute, I think it was Navas I think it was Navas was cutting in from the right-hand side, and he beat, I think it was Monreal on the outside there, and he was at the edge of the box, and he went to square it back to the top, and Coquelin was kind of playing a little bit deep in the middle of the box and was in perfect position to cut off the pass and start a counterattack. I mean, that right there, the way that he's reading the game is, it's right up there with the best, and I certainly took note of it today, and he certainly, looked fantastic. I can't say enough positive things about the way that he played today.
He does read the game well, doesn't he? Yep. I'm going to actually come back to Coquelin a bit later because I want to have a quick chat about his future, but we should actually probably start talking about the game itself now, instead of skirting around the lineup forever. But, right from the kick-off, we seemed to have the right attitude, James. We were like, not going hell for leather, throwing 11 players forward, but not parking the bus either. We had a good balance between attack and defence, and we seemed to be very switched on right from the beginning. And then, of course, we won that penalty fairly early on. What did you make of the first half of the first half, James?
I mean, the first 2 minutes, I really panicked. I mean, it was like Gary Neville said after the game when he was in the studio. He was like, the first 2 minutes, you think, when I think it was Aguero or whatever had that chance, he sat there going, oh, this is going to be typical Arsenal. They're going to get a pasting, which I sort of thought, oh, God, no, please. And, after that, the composure and everything was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the last game, I couldn't knock a single player, at the Stoke game. I couldn't knock a single player how they performed. I feel the same way today. I think all of them, in their own way, done something to contribute to that victory. I mean, people have slated Mertesacker this season, and obviously he hasn't had Koscielny there, and he benefits from having Koscielny there. And you could see today how great they played together. I mean, the booking he got early as well. I thought, I'm not a fan of this Mike Dean fella. Well, I'm more of a fan, obviously, he gave us that penalty, but I'm not a fan of this guy. He's very card happy. And I mean, it was about 5 or 6 minutes in, and because it was a nothing challenge, really, and he books him. I just thought it was so stupid. I'm like, let the game flow. He's blowing his whistle every couple of minutes, but people on Twitter, I don't know if you guys have seen it, some of the journalists as well, saying that Monreal dived. I'm sorry, that's an absolute body check from company, and it's a 1-2 as well. And if Monreal gets it, all he's got to do is cut that across, and it's either Sanchez, Giroud, or Chamberlain that's going to slot that in, and it's going to be a goal anyway. But to say that was a dive is absolutely ludicrous. But Cazorla stepped up. And, Joe Hart went the right way, but he still got it in. And I was screaming the house down at that stage, thinking, oh, my goodness. And, it was just fantastic. But the talking point for me was towards the end of the half when I think it was Navas, Coquelin blocked that shot. And he just turns around and he's screaming his head off. And you think, this is a guy that was at Charlton a few weeks back. He probably thought, I'm not going to get back in this Arsenal team for a while. And here he is, he's been thrusted in, he's been thrown in at the deep end, and he's performing. I know we're going to come back to him later, but he's been absolutely quality.
Hmm.
I think Navas was cock-blocked, wasn't he? That was
I think the whole team was cock-blocked, wasn't it?
Yeah,
no, it was brilliant.
If I can just say something about the penalty, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, that was a hockey hip check that he gave him. I mean, he's coming across him, and there's definitely contact. I mean, beyond the shadow of a doubt, full hip-to-hip contact. I mean, what more do you expect?
It's him coming back from injury, isn't it? I mean, they summed it up perfectly where it's just it's tired legs. I mean, Vincent Kompany on his day is probably the best centre-back in the Premier League, but he got tore apart today.
Yeah, quite frankly, he was quite lucky to stay on the pitch. He had, did he even get a card for the penalty? I don't think that's where his first yellow was.
No, he got one second half, didn't he? Yeah. Taking down Chamberlain, I believe, and he's very lucky the way he was going with some of the refs give the bookings for the descent, and you could, I'm a very, not the best lip reader going, but I think everyone in the world could see what he was
he wasn't saying nice things.
No,
he was livid after that.
For dinner, by any means.
He was livid though, Kompany, after that. You see on his face afterwards, the camera was fixing on him. He was absolutely livid, probably with himself.
Battler, isn't he? He reminds me a lot of, what Arsenal ideally need. He's like of that Tony Adams mould of like, if we lose, I hate to lose. He always wants to win.
Mm. Yeah, very competitive player. But I think even I watched the Pellegrini interview as well afterwards, and he said he used the word dive about it as well. Yeah. But I'm not sure if he completely meant dive. I think he just meant that it wasn't a penalty because he then started backtracking himself. So I'm going to put it down to a mistranslation, not a mistranslation, but a foreign sort of language issue. But there was definite contact. Even if Monreal probably made 20% more of a meal of it than was necessary, there was definitely contact, and it was enough contact to trip him up. So if that's not a penalty,
any player in the Premier League gets contact in that area, they're going to go down like that. I mean, maybe he went down like the head of platoon or what have you, but every single player is going to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're right that he was in a fantastic position, because once he's behind company, that is almost guaranteed to be a goal. Because he was well in at that point. So it's
and there was three of them
goal
there.
scoring
If
opportunity.
you rewatch it, there's three of them there, and then that cutback's on. It's the simplest goal. The simplest ones you tap in.
Exactly. So the half ends, and the Arsenal fans are sort of in disbelief at how well we're playing. And everyone's just thinking, bloody hell, if we can carry on playing like that, you just never know. And even our old mate Callum on Twitter was saying, if we completely balls us up in the second half, we've at least got 45 minutes of great play against the champions to actually look back on as something that we did right. So it's a negative way of looking at it, but he's sort of saying that it's hard not to, of course, based on.
Well, he was going off in the WhatsApp group as well, wasn't he? He's like, this is so like Arsenal. We believe in it. All of us have seen it, but we'll get onto it.
But no, I mean, the point is that the 45 minutes was almost too good to be true. We kept a clean sheet. We're 1-0 up, and we were just thinking, I just wonder what would happen if we could do that again. And it makes the sort of the boss's team talk even easier, doesn't it, Chud?
Oh, absolutely. And I can't remember how long it had been, but I think the comment that the commentators made going into the half was that was our first road lead at halftime since like October or November of 2010, when we were away at either City, United, Chelsea, and it was unfamiliar territory. And going into the second half, I was like Callum, I was a little bit concerned because you knew that City was going to come out all guns blazing in the second half to try to get that goal back, to try to bring the match to us right away. And we were able to weather that storm pretty well. I think we did a fantastic job of soaking up the pressure that they brought, because they definitely had much more of the ball in the second half.
Yeah, they did, and I'll come on to that in a minute, but I just wanted to actually touch on the business about scoring in the first half as well, because I think sometimes the importance of scoring early is underestimated when it applies to this team. I just have this memory of last season when we were top of the league for ages. It seemed to me so often that we would score in like the first 15 minutes or the first 25 minutes, just seemed all the time. And it was like a Giroud header, or it was a Giroud, tap in from a great cutback, or, it just always seemed to happen in that first 20, 30 minutes. And when we did that, we seemed to always go on and win the game. And then in this season, when we haven't been playing anywhere near as good, we only seem to score when we're 1-0 down or when we're 2-0 down. And that it's so difficult to come back once you've gone a goal down. We mentally sometimes lack the strength to do that. But scoring early for Arsenal seems to be absolutely vital to the way that they then go on and manage the game. And the manager touched upon it in his post-match interview. He said scoring the first goal was important, and the person that was interviewing him was saying, you changed something, because normally it's attack, and this time you didn't. And he said, well, to be fair, one of the reasons we attack is because we've gone a goal down, and so we've gone 1 or 2 goals down. So when we don't have to throw everyone forward, we can actually play quite a balanced game. And I really think that we should try, I know it's obviously what we're trying anyway, but we should try really hard to score in that first half hour, because then we're actually pretty good at then managing the game after that. What do you reckon, James?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I much prefer Arsenal going in at half time or what have you in a lead than trying to chase one. I know it's obvious, like it's cliche, isn't it, to say, but definitely with regards to us, it's a lot better. But I just think today the importance of it. I mean, this is the first time we've beat the reigning champions of England since we beat Man United. I think it was 1-0 in 2002. So this is, that was one that I found. I had to scour the internet for that one.
Was that the Adebayor poke?
No, not 2002. That they weren't the champions that year. I think it was Chelsea who won the league that year. But it's so important. And I just can't talk enough about it. Like I said, I think everyone was just quality. And I don't know. Are we talking about second half now, or shall I jump the gun?
No, go for it. Yeah. I mean, they came out as big time, didn't they?
It was It was like watching Rocky. The punches, we were getting punches and punches and punches. I sat there. I mean, they had 16 corners. I know people talk about the amount of corners Arsenal get and we waste, and we're always so frail from set pieces. But today we defended them so well and getting the blocks in and just everything. And you know, the way that we contained David Silva as well. I mean, the City fans chanting, Santi Cazorla's a shit David Silva. I think David Silva's a shit Santi Cazorla after today.
Absolutely.
We contained him brilliantly, and you know, I don't know if it irks you two, but I'm like, where's this been for so many years, Wenger? What, if you can do it today, why can't you do it like every single week? I just did not let him play at all. I mean, he pulls the strings for everything, Silva. You know, like. It pains me to say it, but like Fabregas at Chelsea, everything goes through him, and then he pings the ball to Costa. It's a goal. It's City. It's Silva, Aguero. That's just the way it all goes through. And we contained him today fantastically. You know, another thing as well is, I'm not Wenger's biggest fan at the moment. You know, last few years, but Jose Mourinho got called a genius for how he played against City last season, for how he contained them and how he parked the bus and got that 1-0 win or whatever it was. I'd love to see what the journalists call Wenger. I bet they call him boring.
I'll take boring.
Yeah. The funny thing is, it's interesting that you make that comparison with Mourinho, because Gary Lineker tweeted after the game, obviously tongue in cheek, great win by Chelsea. and he's kind of, you know, it's a massive compliment in a way, even though I hate the Chelsea cunts. Let's not, you know, let's be clear, but it's a compliment, because when he says that, I kind of think about that game, that job they did against us. You know, we went at them, they won 2-0, we went at them, we played our game, and they said, fine, you have the ball, you pass it around, you play your game, we're just not going to let you into the dangerous areas, we're not going to let you score. And then the minute you take your eye off the ball, Fabregas to Costa, bang, and it's all over. And it's sort of like we did that to them. Okay, we did it from set pieces rather than open play, but the point is that it's that kind of professional job that Mourinho, gets the credit for, and it's what he did to us, and now we've done it to City. So it proves we can have a balanced game, and we can balance defence and attack. And I think that's what Lineker was sort of, hinting at, really.
When have you ever seen Arsenal have 35% of the possession and win a game? I'd love for just anyone. I know anyone who, you know. They said we got clever listeners. If someone could tell me, I'd love to know.
Well, I think they said on Sky that it's the first time we've had possession that low for 11 years or something.
Oh wow! So
it is an incredible stat. I mean, that stat and the one you've already mentioned about having 16 corners is incredible, because, you know, when we had the 2-2 against City, I think we conceded from a corner. When we had the 2-2 against Liverpool, that's right, we had a 2-2 against Liverpool, we conceded from a corner, and it was Skirtle. And so, you know, when we're sort of 2-0 up and there's corner after corner, you just think, well, all they have to do is score from 2 and it's going to be a point. You know, I'd sort of resign myself to the fact that one of these 8 million corners was going to end up in a goal. and they didn't. So 16 corners without conceding, that's amazing. And it goes back to, you know, it's linked to what Judd was saying about Ospina. It's a great stat, isn't it, Judd?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I was thinking about that during the match. They kept going on and on and on about this is, you know, City's 12th corner, 13th corner, 14th corner, and I was thinking back, well, what have they created from any of them? I don't remember a shot from any of the corners until that last one when Company made the near post run in front of the near post and tried to do a glancing header back and was, you know, well wide. You know, that's the first time they even had an attempt on goal from a corner. So I got to the point where I was like, oh, it's a corner, big deal. You know, I wasn't even that concerned by the end of the game, honestly. It's just kind of weird and hard to explain, because it's certainly not a feeling that I've had when an opponent's had a corner against us any time in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years probably.
Yeah, it was just one of those games where they didn't really look like scoring, did they?
No.
And to say that about a team with Aguero and Dzeko and Silva in is a pretty amazing thing to say. You just wonder where all these defensive performances, for the first half of the season.
It was very reminiscent of. Do you remember? I think it might not have been last season. It could have been. I'm digressing here anyway. But when we played Dortmund away and Ramsey scored that goal and we won 1-0, they were bombarding us the whole game, and we just sat, and then got one break and got the goal. It just reminded me of that. Just the pressure we were sustaining was unreal. It was proper edge of the seat stuff. I don't know what it was like for a neutral to watch, but it was incredible. And I mean,
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. But do you think that, because obviously Dortmund, we went there knowing that they're a very quick passing team, and they have wave upon wave of attack. We went to City knowing that they can do exactly the same thing. Do you think that we made an obvious tactical change? Because people always says, what does Wenger know about tactics? What does he know? But then today people are on Twitter saying, who are you and what have you done with my Arsenal? Because we were just so organised and so
honestly, I keep saying it, but I just think the main thing is we done a number on Silva. Honestly, I just think that's the key. The key factor is that I don't know if it was before the game or. They say about in the training ground they have the iPads to watch if they want to scout how they play or whatever. I think either Coquelin and Ramsey and the others just sat there and watched David Silva and were like, right, just stop him. Just whatever it takes. If we have to kick him, if we have to punch him, to just stop whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I mean,
Cazorla, he got 5 tackles. Cazorla defending, when do you ever think of that?
Yeah,
he was muscling people that are bigger than him off the ball.
That's right, and we might as well, now that you've touched upon it, we might as well come to that point, the man of the match. I mean, it has to be Cazorla. He was absolutely unbelievable, and it's obviously strongly linked to the fact that he's playing centrally. So it allows him to express his freedom. He's always been better in the middle, but today he wasn't just better, he was outstanding, and he's been going that way the last few games. He's just been getting better and better and doing the defensive thing and the attacking thing brilliantly. What do you reckon, Judd?
Yeah, he's certainly the man of the match for me. Then, putting him in the middle of the field, letting him, take advantage of his close control ability. I mean, how many times did he just have a nice little jinky run around players? It was phenomenal. It looked like the ball was glued to his feet at times today. And that just, takes the pressure to the other team, keeps those counterattacks flowing quickly, a thing that I've not seen too much of yet this year. It was a joy to see, and, sometimes in the bigger games he's looked outmatched. Today he certainly didn't. I thought he was probably, by far our best player, and that's not an easy thing to do on a day like today where we've got performances like we got from Bellerin and Coquelin, and, everybody was playing very well, but he certainly stood out.
Sorry,
I was distracted for a minute. I just had a contact request from XXX Leslie. She sounds nice. But no, because it's funny because he seems to have been playing for us forever, but it's just like a new side to him. But it's possible it was always there, but we just never gave him a proper run of games in the middle. I mean, you see him play in the middle once or twice, and then the boss would put Jack in there or someone else in there that he prefers or thinks is a better player, be it Ozil, be it Ox, be it somebody else. But now that we've actually let him do it again and again, he's benched those players, and I really, he's made himself undroppable now. I mean, I can't see the point in putting anybody else in that position now. Can you?
No,
James?
not for me personally. No, I mean, I got a few of the older stats here because he got 1 goal, 1 assist, 91% passing accuracy. And over the last 3 seasons, only Wayne Rooney has more assists than Cazorla in the league. So that's quite telling for me personally.
Yeah, great stats, and 91% passing rate.
I mean,
his technique is unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know if people will get the reference, but I posted a tweet saying that he's pulling the strings like he's on the set of Thunderbirds. Do you know what I mean?
People have saying that.
Yeah, he was just absolutely incredible, and the video as well, when he whips in that free kick for Giroud to score, afterwards he's doing a little dance. You could see he just loves it. And for me, Cazorla this season, and as well as Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think Sanchez has made them raise their game. I think it was like last season, you looked at Luis Suarez at Liverpool. He got an extra 20% out of people like Henderson, Gerrard and Coutinho, the others. They raised their game because they've got someone so influential like Sanchez. And Sanchez today, he had an albeit quiet game. He's still done it. He got his tackles in. He had a few good runs and whatnot. But he just raises everybody's game. And for me, like you said, Cazorla's undroppable. I don't care. Ozil, I love him as well, but the price tag and whatnot, you can't chuck Cazorla out that position now. You can't be done. He's performing so good.
He's absolutely on fire, and in a way we're kind of lucky that he wasn't injured for this game or something, because you can imagine Sanchez not really being able to have the impact that he has done the last few games, and then Cazorla would have been replaced by Ozil or somebody who's on his way back from injury. I don't think we would have won this game. I really don't. I think it was all about Cazorla. He had a massive impact on it, so I'm just grateful he was playing, because he really was the man of the match. Anyway, I want to move on to some questions, because we've had people on Twitter asking us questions. One from Sanjog Patro. Do you believe Coquelin? Yeah, some of these are unpronounceable. Do you believe Coquelin is the answer to our DM problems, or do we have to buy a new DM? Well, I wanted to talk about him because it's interesting, isn't it? He's only played a few games, and already he's looking fantastic, and he's making Flamini look extremely average. So that's it, isn't it? That's it. Game over, and problem solved. Or is it not quite as simple as that, Judd?
Well, he's making Flamini look average because he is average.
Yeah, not hard, is it?
No, but no, on to the point. I hope that it's solved. I don't have that confidence level yet because we haven't seen enough. And he is a young player, so he's going to have his ups and downs in performance. So, it's tough to say. The way that he's played recently has certainly put my mind at ease about, and my concerns have kind of been, softened a bit. I still think that we need better. Not saying that Coquelin couldn't be that guy in the near future. It's just right now I'm not comfortable yet.
Let me ask you a question, Judd. How many DMs do you think we need in the squad?
2.
Two. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say if we did go out and buy one, which of course none of us would complain if we went out tomorrow and bought a world-class DM, but there probably isn't one available in the January window. It's unlikely. So none of us would complain. So that means we then have this great DM and Coquelin as backup, in which case it means we sell Arteta and Flamini, or do we stick with Coquelin and Arteta and get rid of Flamini? Because it seems a bit unfair to get rid of Arteta when he can really control the midfield, in a very good way, and he busts it up for us. What would you do if you're in Wenger's shoes right now?
Well, first of all, I personally don't classify Arteta as a defensive midfielder. I think that his defensive abilities are too lacking to be classed as that. He's more of a true central mid that can contribute a little bit defensively, but he's not that Arturo Vidal or Matic or Yaya Toure type where they're unquestioning ability defensively.
The trouble is, though, because he isn't that, and we all know that, we've converted him to a DM, because he isn't an out-and-out DM, that means that if you get one, you still can't keep him, because you can't put him anywhere else, can you? You can't say, oh, well, it's all right, he can play, further forward, because you don't want him.
Where?
Where, exactly. So,
No, but, in that case, I'm not opposed to moving Arteta on. He's done great things for the club in his time here. He's 32, I think. He's getting on there in years. Flamini, he came in an emergency. Didn't he come in a January window? I can't remember.
He was a free transfer
summer?
in the summer, wasn't he?
That's right.
Freebie.
That's right.
Freebie.
But anyway, on to the point. I think it's a tough situation because you'd like to see Coquelin be that guy that develops into that, established midfielder for you that you can count on day in and day out. And I think that he's shown right now that he has the potential to do that. It's just a matter of when, not if. But at the same time, can we wait? I mean, we've been waiting for guys to develop in every position for the last decade. It feels like. And I suppose in one sense, because it's the January window and not the summer window, what we could do, obviously, if the opportunity arises, we could buy an excellent DM, and then for between January and the end of the season, we'd have 4. Okay, so then we can see what's Arteta like when he recovers. Has he still got anything to offer? What's the new DM like? Is he as good as he's hyped up to be? Does Coquelin stay playing at this level, or does he turn out to be too erratic and then we end up shipping him out? It's a tough one, but in that period between January and summer, we can then reassess all 4 of them and then decide which 2 to release. If we were trying to do this just before the season started, it would be a harder decision, wouldn't it? But what I see happening is Wenger, knowing the way that he deals and the people that are going to be available in this window, the way I see it playing out is that we probably won't sign that defensive holding midfielder type, and we'll probably wind up going on with Coquelin for the rest of the season and seeing how he performs, and then assessing the situation after that. And then, like you were saying, then you see what you've got out of the 3, Flamini, Arteta, and Coquelin, and then deciding whether or not we need to buy that, marquee player during the summer. Just maybe I'm a bit cynical, but that's just the way that I see it playing out.
Yeah, you could be right, but you also have to take into account the fact that player availability is a big thing with the boss, and if someone comes available that he really, really likes, sometimes we'll buy them anyway, even if we don't necessarily seem like we need them at that point. Off the top of my head, I can think of, buying Sanya where we already had a Boué, or the 50,000 attacking midfielders he's bought when we've already had loads of them. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of examples. It's unlikely that one will become available in the next couple of weeks, but if one did, I think he would a really good one did. He would probably buy them and then just sort out his headache at the end of the season. Arteta's old, Flamini's getting old. He's not what he used to be. He's pretty much back up, and Coquelin is looking like the new best thing since sliced bread. So if it was me, I would just get one and worry about it later. But I don't know whether he'll think like that, and obviously you don't know whether there's one available. Anyway, I'll move on to the next question, which is also related to Coquelin. Suburban Gooner says, is anyone else worried that Lecoq might just do a Flamini with regards to his contract at the end of the season? So I'm assuming by that his contract is up. Does anybody think he'll just bugger off for a big contract somewhere?
No.
James, I'll go to you. Yeah.
No, definitely not. The thing with Coquelin is that we've had him for quite a while. And I remember we wanted to, when we signed Koscielny from Lorient, we wanted to loan Coquelin to Lorient, and they said no. And I think he went there eventually, and he come back because he had a lot of attitude problems. And you can see in him, there's a lot of fire in him. I don't know if that's, like we said with Szczesny, young kid, gets a bit, believes himself. He's got all the ability in the world, but I still think we need to sign a DM. But as far as this new DM is, you've got to think about it. Apparently we've got this deal done for this, it probably sounds stupid trying to pronounce his name. I think it's Bilic, Christian Bilic, the Polish guy. Yeah. I believe he's probably going to be announced tomorrow, possibly. That's
right. Well,
I heard. So that would leave us, if we sign another one, we've got Coquelin, Arteta. Yeah, we've got 5. Good problem to have. Good problem to have. But
he is 17 though, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. You can't. I wouldn't throw him in. But the thing is, for me, the DM role, everyone wants a tough tackling, hard DM, and I think the Claude Makelele's and that of this world are done now. You need one that will get your tackles, but will also distribute well, like Matic does. He can pick a pass. He moves the game forward. And Coquelin's, people talk about how well he's doing on his defensive, but his range of passes are fantastic. I think his distribution is spot on as well. But I wouldn't
cross.
complain if we signed another one. Sissoko from Newcastle is the one that's been looked at, and I think in the 2 games that he's played against Chelsea this season, I know they lost one but won the other, he looked solid. He looked good enough, but I don't know if that's just a stopgap or what have you, but I don't know, maybe with this Bielek, I think that might be it now. I think he might stick with Coquelin. I hope he doesn't. I still think he needs one more, and having 5 is a big problem, but I think come end of the season, I don't think Arteta will go. I think Arteta's being groomed to be a future manager. I really do. Groomed is a bad word to say. I think
with that word.
Okay, touted. You see Arteta when he's injured and stuff. He gets in the pictures at the training ground, but he's got the cardigan on with the tie. He looks so Guardiola-y, doesn't he, with that cardigan and tie combo. And, when we score, the young players score, they all run up to him. You can see how much of an influence Arteta has. And that goes back to when he signed. I've had this story confirmed from quite a few people. I don't know if you guys know it, but Arteta went in the canteen and saw that they were all sat separately, eating just with whoever they wanted. And Arteta grabbed the tables and whatnot, pushed them all together, pushed all the seats together, and said, we're eating as a team. We're all a team. Why? We're not having divides. We're not sat separately. We're all doing this together. And I just think he won't let Arteta go. I just have a feeling he won't do it.
Interesting. The thing is, what occurs to me with all these DMs is that I wonder whether Wenger actually probably, when he recalled Coquelin, he probably wasn't expecting him to be quite as good as he has been.
No,
so he's probably thinking, he's probably already put things in place to actually buy Bielek. So he's probably thinking, well, I've got this, I'm going to buy this 17-year-old that's unbelievable, that in 2 years' time is going to be like one of the best DMs in the league, blah, blah, blah. And then, hang on, Coquelin's been fantastic. What do I do now? So he's sort of got one too many on his hands already, and that's without Arteta and Flamini.
Yeah. I still think it's a nice problem to
buying
have, though.
Sissoko or
Coquelin,
anybody else.
obviously, if Coquelin sustains his performances, it's a bloody good problem to have.
It is, but I agree with Judd. We don't need 5 DMs. We need 2.
No.
Any more than 2 is probably a bit of a waste.
Well, the way we get injured, I'd personally say 3.
Yeah, well, I suppose it depends what age they are, because you've got to keep them happy, haven't you? If you've got a 17-year-old and then a 23-year-old, which I think Coquelin is, and then you've got like a 28-year-old, which would be like your new purchase, then you can probably get away with 3, because the 17-year-old doesn't expect to get much action anyway.
No.
And Coquelin is, maybe going to be rotated, so you could maybe get away with 3, but any more than that, someone's going to start whinging about game time, aren't they? Anyway, I'll move on to the next. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say there's that nice logical progression if they've got that gap in years between them. And, the nice thing about bringing in that Bilic guy at 17 is that he would then qualify as a homegrown player when he reaches 21, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yeah, you're right.
So he's got that going for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
That probably one of the reasons why we probably paid a little bit more for him, because of his age and because of that. Anyway, I want to move on to the next question. This comes from Faisal Saeed 10. Now that Santi Cazorla is playing really well, what will happen to Ozil, and do we need to rotate more? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he on his current form, he's benching Ozil, and he could probably keep that up. And I wouldn't be one of those people sort of saying, "Come on, Wenger, you paid 40 million for him or 42 million for him. Get him on the pitch." It's simply about who's playing best at the time, and at the moment, that's definitely Cazorla. So, do you think we need to rotate more, Judd, to stop Cazorla getting tired, or what do you make of it?
Well, it's probably going to happen naturally, just because of the way that the fixtures are going to start getting backed up when the Champions League knockout stage, or the knockout stages start, and then we're still in the FA Cup, so it's going to be a problem either way. But it's nice to have that extra option so that you can give Cazorla a 5 or 6 day rest every once in a while, and not having to play him every 3 days. So, I think, though, that form should always dictate who gets selected, but at the same time, fatigue's got to factor in that decision as well. And right now, Cazorla is certainly the form selection. That's, without a doubt. And it's nice having somebody of the quality of Ozil to be that replacement when he is, needing a rest or something.
It's great backup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up in a minute, but before I do, I just want to bring up the subject of Bellerin again because, Chambers was there. We could have started with him. A lot of people thought we might have done. But Bellerin again was fantastic and deserved to keep his place. He's got frightening pace and he times his tackles very well. So what did you make of him, James? Do you think it was the right decision to play him?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like you said, with hindsight's a wonderful thing. I thought you might have gone with Chambers personally, but I'm glad he went with Bellerin. He was top notch today with everything he did. I mean, going forward and his tackling was spot on for me.
Yeah, I think he's a quick learner, and he's suddenly been through the deep end, hasn't he?
I remember in the Dortmund game, I was really worried, and I watched him and I thought he's not going to make it. I really did. He got tore apart that game, but I spoke to Callum and whatnot about it, and we all said nobody really played well in that Dortmund away game for us. So he said, you might be a bit harsh on him, and I was like, yeah, probably I am. And looking back, I think I was.
That's the problem with being a knee jerk, mate. That is the problem.
Yeah.
I always say it. I mean, don't forget there were people that wrote off Coquelin in the 8-2 defeat to Man United. It's like, well, come on, was anybody anything? Was anybody anything other than total dog shit in that game? You might as well write off the whole
Jenkinson. Everyone was slating Jenkinson, and at West Ham now he's gone from a frail boy into a man, hasn't he? I don't know if Allardyce has got that out of him, or he looks bulked up. His penalty the other night as well.
He's playing really well, but kids always need a run of games, don't they? But you need someone with the balls to give it to them. That's the thing. Yep. You need somebody to say, look, go out there, make your mistakes. You're inexperienced, you will do stupid things, but you'll learn from them. Yeah. And I'm going to keep playing you. And that's one of the benefits of putting them out on loan, because then they make the mistakes for other people and not for you.
But I think, like we've talked about the whole pod, I think Bellerin, Cazorla, Coquelin, they're all, the way they're playing, they're undroppable. They're undroppable.
I think those three were the men of the match today, really. Yeah. And
they
also
were the ones that,
take into account Ospina, obviously, but
they're the ones the official Arsenal account on Twitter picked as well. So, you must have a good eye, Jasper.
Yeah, well, it wasn't hard. They were just fantastic. Yeah. But anyway, the final point, Judd. I mean, we beat the champions convincingly, and with great discipline and with no dodgy moments, and we did it with Ozil and Theo and Szczesny on the bench. So we're home and hosed, aren't we?
I'd like to think so.
Positive, very positive.
It's certainly a great result to build off of moving forward, and it's probably the best result of the season to date, in any competition. So it certainly has to give the side a ton of belief going into the second half. And I was talking to my brother after the match about this, and I think I even saw a couple of people on Twitter talking about, is the title race really over? And I mean, obviously, based on the way that Chelsea's been playing, it's hard to see them dropping enough points for us to make up ground. But it certainly builds a lot more belief in finishing fourth for me than I had, even a week or two ago. And we've seemingly put together a good run of games consecutively. I think that's 3 straight shutouts now. I could see us comfortably finishing fourth now, which is something that I certainly would not have said, before the new year.
I think we can push for third. I don't know if I'm deluded.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that too. I mean, second's not even out of the question, honestly. I think we're 8 points out of second? I mean, no, legitimately.
What about first? I mean, come on.
13
we're going to win everything.
We're going to have to make up there. That's a bit of a stretch. And I think Chelsea's only dropped like 14 or 15 points on the season so far. So that might be a bit beyond reach, but I certainly don't see any reason why we can't have a lot of confidence going into the second half that we will finish.
Chelsea, still got to play United, so you just don't. You never know. You never ever know.
That's right.
I really want to play United when they're having a shit week, and we just absolutely batter them.
We all won.
There's certain teams, aren't there, that make you really fucking happy. I tell you what, quick final question to both of you. I was very happy that we beat Stoke, but not just beat them, thumped them, because I hate those fucking orc dickheads with their fouling ways and their anti-football shit. What made you happier, slamming Stoke, a big red hot poker up their arse, or beating the champions, Judd?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because as much as it feels good beating the champions, I don't have that deep-seated hatred for City that I do Stoke. And Stoke Stoke away has been such a bogey match for us for so long now. It was
revenge as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It really was. And maybe it's the way that the game played out a little bit too, because I never really felt that nervousness today that I did a couple times during the Stoke game. I don't know. Maybe it's just I had a better weekend this weekend. I don't know, but I really felt great after beating Stoke. I agree. That one, I was over the moon beating them like that. That was phenomenal. This game, absolutely brilliant as well, but the Stoke one just edges it out a little bit because of that deepness, that deep-seated hatred in my gut for them.
For me, it's a bit of both. I sort of agree, but then I disagree in the fact that we haven't beat a side that's in the top four for so many years, and we always get, Arsenal, you always bottle it, don't you? You're never good enough. You don't change your tactics. You got one way of playing. You ain't got a plan B. And today we finally went, do you know what? There's two fingers.
Yeah, that's a huge monkey off our back right there.
Yeah. We always seem to get, in this second half of the season, we always seem to get a result that sort of spurs us on to do better.
Don't use that word.
Well, pushes us forward then. Pushes us forward.
That's better.
That's twice I've been reprimanded. When we beat Bayern Munich the other year, that really lifted the whole team, and then we got that fourth place. I know it's, not the best, but it's the best of the bad bunch. But this game today, I really do. I don't know if I'm being overzealous, but the way the players all at the end and everything, it's just a big motivation. I really hope we carry it on. I think next week against Brighton, maybe he might start the Walcott and Ozil and Joel Campbell and whatnot. Just get them out there, get their legs run. Let them play a bit. I can't see us losing to Brighton by any means, but.
I think you make a good point. We could be getting the old springboard out here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is it too early to use the S word? We've beaten a top team, and it was that time. You're right, wasn't it, when we beat Bayern Munich and it just turned the season? Maybe this is the Bayern Munich moment.
That's the point. It wasn't. There was nothing fluky about it. We absolutely tactically outfought them and made them look, dare I say, mediocre.
Yeah, we were better than them in every part of the pitch. It really was a comprehensive win. Only the 2 goals, but there could even have been more. So it was a proper victory. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't anyone being sent off and down to 10 men.
Yeah.
We did it with 2 or 3 of our best players on the bench. It was no one can say, no City fan can say, you robbed us. It was a fluke. The ref conned us. It was a proper comprehensive victory, and that has to give the team a massive boost. So, it could be the Bayern Munich moment, couldn't it, Judd? Never know.
Yeah, I hope so. The way that we've been playing, it's on the back of a good run of games too. So I think it's fair to say that this could be our springboard. It couldn't come at a better time.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. All right, well, I'll call it a day there, but thanks for joining us, guys. So say goodnight to the listeners, please, James.
Good night, listeners.
and from all the way across the pond, Judd.
Good night, listeners. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. See you soon.